There's material. There's a gesture towards the object. A movement on the object. A motion with the material. There's a pause, a rotating gaze. Years of observing. Black holes into a minute. Final project, idiosyncratic. If I give it to you or you buy it from me, it doesn't make you a materialist. Materialism is an ugly word. Materials shaped by nimble and inspired hands. Hands that know and never know is beauty. There's movement, there's an object, there's material, there's a gesture.
Okay, today we're going to talk about working with these tiles that have already been fired, right? So they are unglazed tiles. They've already been fired, but they're still going to need, some kind of clear glaze over them to make them, sort of smooth and clean and stuff like that, or any kind of glaze really. But before we do that, we're going to do some work with some stickers and some underglazes in order to create sort of some text and color around that text before we put the clear over it. So to get ready for doing some of the work, I want to make sure it's right tools. It's nice to have a little sponge around that's kind of damp for any cleanup that you might need to do. I've taken some of my underglazes and I've poured them into some little dishes that I have easy access. I have some brushes around that I can use for different things. Won't need to clean. I want to have a pencil and a ruler for setting up my text, and maybe something round in case I want to do a curve. And then maybe with one of your old cleaning sponges, especially after they get kind of old and maybe not so great for cleaning anymore. It's nice you can use one of those to cut up to create some little small pieces that you can use to sort of apply some of the underglazes on, just to make some kind of interesting sponged on color. So I'm just cutting an old one up. And then later I can use that to sort of sponge color on. So the first thing I want to do is kind of decide, what word I'm going to use or what I'm going to do and where I'm going to put it, right? So, for example, if I want to do a word and I want it to be sort of straight across and I want it to be somewhat in the middle, I need to kind of figure out where the center is. And I'll sort of mark that and use my pencil. And the pencil marks will just burn out later on, so we're not worried about getting rid of them before we fire. So of course I need to know how big this tile is. So it's really just short of 4 1/4. So 2, which means a 2 1/16. If I mark down my ruler here, and I go down to about 2 1/16. So that's the middle. Go again 2 1/16. So I have this little cross that's my center. So then I can work off of that. So if I want to have my letters come up pretty straight and stuff like that, and we're going to use these stickers that we can sort of set down, and we'll put the color around them, and then when we fire and set the underglaze, those stickers will burn away, and then we'll leave the white space of where they were, with the color around it. So I want to know how wide these guys are too. So they are about, I'm going to go in inches here. Let's see. They're about 5/8 tall, let's say. So then I would want to go about 5/16 on either side of that to mark from my very center. So if I 5/16 will be really just short of a half. Just do the same kind of thing. And then using just my ruler, having it the edge flush, should be able to get a pretty straight pencil mark. And I can double check that that's what I wanted there. So then I can set my letters, my words, right in between there. So the first thing I'll do is stick with this sort of theme I've been doing, where I've been doing, versions of peace. I'll do the English version of peace. So that is going to be 5 letters. So I want to really center the first one. So I'm going to center the A. And so I'm going to pop this A off. And it still has a little piece in the middle there, so I need to take a little something small and sharp, like this little paper clip, get that off, and a pair of tweezers can use to kind of help get that last little piece out of there. So then I'll just lay that A about in the middle there. And then I can work off of that pretty easily. Grab the C. And it's nice with this set of stickers, they have lots of this, repeats of the letters. So we're going to need 2 E's. Take my second E, which is the next letter over here that needs to go in. And then the last letter, P. And again, it has that little extra piece in there. Easy to pop out with some tweezers or something. Get out of the way. Make sure that's somewhat centered. And it could be a little straighter probably. It's okay. So, peace. So then the other thing is, maybe I want to do have it be curved, especially if I have a longer word that I want to put in, I can't fit it or something, and so maybe I'm going to get that curved. So I'm going to do the same sort of thing I did before, where I want to get that center mark, kind of have an idea maybe where I want to have my pieces there. So back to 2 and a there, get that center piece. And then I can use anything that has a nice, that's sort of round and have a curve on it. And then just pop that. That way I can sort of form this sort of letter. There's words here that with the letters, so that they sort of curve around, and I can usually get a longer word in there. So we're going to try the name Elizabeth, which is a longer one there. So I'd already had done one and using these sort of little stencil stick-ons, and you know, it's kind of running out of room. It was a little tight. I should have tried to do more of a curve. So we'll see if we can't make that one fit. So again, we start with the A. The A is the middle letter of the word. We have to pop that little section out. And get rid of that. So try to put maybe not quite on that line. We'll have the basically 2/3 above it. Now we'll try to fit in the rest. So we'll go back to B. Same thing, sometimes we're still going to have to grab those little hanging chads. Get them out of there. It looks like we should have room here. Get the E in there. T. And the H. Just fits pretty perfect. So I'll go back to grab my, get the Z out of there. I can extract that. Find the I. Since this eye is so thin, try to give it a little more space. To kind of fill in there, so it doesn't end up starting so short compared to where it ends. And then the last E. So that fit pretty decently there. So now we got this nice sort of curved, and we could do other things here. Okay, so you know, you have to be pretty careful about that stuff when I'm putting the ink about. I don't want anything to bleed underneath my lines here. So there's all kinds of other fun stuff we can find. I don't think that would fit there, but maybe I can use this and just lay this out. Kind of center it. Oops. It might actually be easier to do it upside down here. That's crooked. Don't want that. That looks okay. So they'll end up being color there, and then that'll all be white when that burns away. Color around just like that. So, you know, so there's all kinds of fun stuff you can find and do things. this piece here might be nice to maybe put around. The word peace. So I'll take this and I guess we'll just kind of center it. And then I'll get rid of that excess with the and you know, you could do other things with this. I can save those for something else maybe. Now that I have some of this stuff set up, I'll start sort of glazing, right? What I might want to do is, you know, have both my tiles sort of ready to go, so I can do kind of a lot of them at the same time. So use the same colors at the same time. So maybe I might want to start with just brushing on some color, and then around the letters, because they're going to be white where they end up being, I want to start with dark colors and then can radiate out to lighter stuff. So I'll start with the black. And just to make sure that this is going to be, make those letters sort of stick out against this black sort of backdrop. You know, so we can do that, and it's kind of nice. It kind of almost bleeds right off of that sort of surface for that sticker there. So that's going to be my black, and then maybe what I want to do is start coming around with, you know, maybe some green, and I'll try sponging on the green. And so in some of these other places, I don't think I'm so worried about it being standing out as much compared to the word is what I want to stand out the most. You have a green heart, because why not? Let's see how this. You know, and then after doing some stuff, I might decide that, oh, I kind of want to, you know, flick some color on there. So I'll have a brush if it's a little bit longer. And maybe I'll still stick with going with some blue first. Maybe I'll take this extra piece of plastic and put it there. And then just kind of flick like that, or, you know, get some splatter going. To just kind of add a little color. And that might be a nice fun thing to do as one of the last things you do, you know, so that you can sprinkle some extra color around there. And then, you know, once it's done and when it dries, this, you know, underglaze will dry relatively fast. That black is already starting to dry. I can, you know, start adding more color and build up some layers of stuff over a little bit of time. And then have a bunch of different sort of things. So that'll be the thing to do, is get your sticker set up, however, whatever words you're going to have. You're going to do you have two tiles, you're going to do two different ones. One, do whatever you want on it. you're going to get to keep that one. You could make it for a friend with their name. You could have your name all over the place, family member, whatever. And then the other one, we're going to do tiles with one positive word on there. And then hopefully if they turn out right, we're going to use them all to tile one of the tables outside the classroom. But that one you will be sending back into us for, for us to keep and put on the table there. We'll talk more about what words we can use and stuff like that. And we can use, all kinds of different ones in different languages too. Here's, shalom, which also means peace in sort of Hebrew, but this is using the Phoenician alphabet. It's not really the formal way you would actually write that in Hebrew. And then we have the word shikan, which is the Irish word for peace. And so I just used, I got the letters and I had to kind of make up the accent by cutting off little bits of the these sort of brackets here and put those over to make the accent. But all can be done. Okay, so after we've done sort of our underglazes here, these, and then with the stickers, and once they come out of we fire them once, and I'm sort of setting these underglazes and getting the stickers or stencils, sort of burn off. And so they're just kind of little crusty sort of things there, and some of them, basically totally almost all the way gone. That stickers are almost always gone, but there's still sort of some residual sort of ash, and I just take any kind of like something, but like, sort of a stiffer brush to kind of then clean this stuff off. And it's not always perfect, right? And what I've kind of come to realize is those stencils, actually the glue in them actually leaves a little bit of a sort of a residue that doesn't necessarily disappear. So, which is kind of interesting. So that's all sort of been cleaned up, basically. And if you have to, you might, take something to scratch it out or something like that. And then just clean this one up and this is where these feather sort of ones are done. It looks like there's something. And I just kind of like used a lot of brush work and sort of blotted that out. And then, I'm just going to put a couple coats of a clear, like a low fire clear. These tiles can't go up beyond really, I'm not sure really exactly what temperature, but I know I've actually fired little pieces of them in cone 6 and they just totally melted. So they're pretty much going to stick with low fire. So really optimum is to come back and just do clear coat and fire it back to 06, kind of a low bisque temperature. And you can just put them in the top of your bisque. So here's some of the ones that once they got fired, and there's some little markings in here, some little color. It's kind of a dull yellowish orange, and basically that is actually the glue from those stencils. So something to know about those stencils, they actually leave a little residue there. But everywhere else is pretty clean. And then here is the ones I did. So got 3 different sort of versions of the word peace. Right, we have English and Irish and Hebrew. But this, of course, is with the Phoenician alphabet, not the actual Hebrew characters. But there you can see a sponge. You kind of layer it up and stuff and different things. And then even here where I used a stencil to just sort of layer in there. And I started with a green, and then I did some orange, and then I did some yellow. And so it's sort of like turned out kind of interesting looking because when I built them up, they were still a little bit wet, so they bled into each other a little bit, and so they kind of a decent look. So you can keep it differently where you kind of add in it's like say add in the black, let it sort of dry, then come back with your next color and stuff like that. Or you can kind of like quickly dab them on top of them and get them to sort of mix and bleed through a little bit. Interesting. So, and you know, your assignment is going to be, you have two blank tiles. One, you're going to do a positive word. We'll talk more about in class about that. And then one, you can do whatever you want. You know, if you could do your name, you could do your friend's name, you could do whatever you want with the different sort of letters that you have. And then you're also, of course, welcome to go out to, you know, buy more stickers or stencils or anything you find or have, and use those too on your pieces. Okay. And that'll be it.
There's material, there's a gesture towards the object, a movement on the object, a motion with the material. There's a pause, a rotating gaze, years of observing black holes into a minute.